Husband has been cheating the entire time. Husband 31 and I 40 met and were married in the pandemic. We've been together a year and a half. Whirlwindy. For sure. But it felt right. I've had a pretty tumultuous life of tragedy and death and felt I had finally found my peace. I have money, a modest but lovely home, and now a husband I adore, and 2 bright and kind stepkids. The whole dream. We spend all of our time together. Never got bored of just hanging out. He made me coffee in the morning and massaged me every night. We made dinner as a family and took our tiny dogs for walks with the kids. Our ex was perfect for me. I am a simple gal. I don't like many people or things. I just want to chill with my favorite person. I would take a moment sometimes during the day and relish in how fortunate I was, and then hold my husband at night and feel like the luckiest woman in the world. The only real issue seemed to be his alcohol problem. It didn't seem like a big deal at first, but it became one. I had a volatile, horribly toxic alcoholic ex. So I figured since my husband was always sweet to me, it really wasn't a huge deal. The worst he does is lay around being maudlin and listening to sad boy music. He had started to talk of suicide, which ducks me up since my little brother shot himself. He talked about previous attempts and even showed me a suicide note. It felt more along the lines of cry for help than serious danger. I have mental health issues as well, and I felt we could work through this. My world began to unravel on a Thursday night about a month ago. I had prepaid for a casino night benefit, a rare date night for us. He was so wasted he couldn't get out of bed. I went without him. About an hour and I get a text from his ex-wife. He had texted her asking if she'd take his son to school in the morning if he killed himself. Not even her son, but another woman's. I assured her he was just being dramatic, but I did immediately return home where he was passed out on the couch. I did something I've never done once I looked in his phone. Very long story short, between this and a couple other information gathering forays, I was able to determine that my husband has been texting his ex-wife almost every day, multiple times a day, for our entire relationship. Often sexual, often yearning, often requesting nudes and even attempting to get her to meet him for ex, among many others. He tried to get her to have ex with him 11 days before our wedding. They texted all day during our wedding and then all throughout our honeymoon, including sexual things from the hot tub in our honeymoon cabin. He texted her that he missed the hell out of her and begged for nudes on my 40th birthday. From the day we met until the day I saw those texts, and even after. Sometimes just things like sending her pics of everything we did and saw on a date. Like the dinner I bought him or a pretty tree we noticed. Pics of my garden or houseplants he never even touched, as if they were his to impress her. He texted her nudes he keeps of her from their marriage. He texted implied nudes of himself, including on Father's Day after I'd made sure to get lovely gifts the boys could give to him and his father. I took the family to Yellowstone and he texted that he wished it was her who was there and tried to get her to have ex the night we returned. He tried to get her to have ex in his apartment the day before I moved the family into my home. Calls her pet names. Another thing to mention is I have a little bit of money, not a huge amount, but enough that I'm able to live off the interest of my investments and don't work unless I want to. I told him he didn't have to work if he didn't want to, so he essentially hasn't worked since shortly after we got together. I pay for 100% of everything, including household, vacations, gifts for him and the boys, dining out, everything. I paid off his credit card debt when we got together, but at some point he started secretly racking up credit card debt behind my back and I found out. I should have known then that our relationship was not built on honesty, but I continued to trust him. He's texted almost every single person he knows how much money I have and jokes about acquiring half my wealth. He even joked about killing me and splitting the money with his friend. He told his ex-wife things like, "I hope she's as rich as I think she is." When she Venmo'd him money for something he said there was no need because Sugar Mama's gonna pay for it. I once told him I'd take him anywhere in the world on vacation when a project I was working on wrapped up. He texted her, "Where would you go on vacation if money were no issue?" and sent her a screenshot of our texts about it. This fits into a pattern I saw of him just using other women to make her jealous enough to come back. She started dating someone at one point and he became furious and verbally abusive, demanding details. He assured her I was okay with his obsession with her and that he would not be in a relationship with me if I wasn't. I could go on and on and on as, again, this is almost every single day, multiple times a day. He admits to curating his Instagram to make himself look like the hot, cool father of the year to attract his ideal type, slightly edgy target moms, and uses this to creep on women. Texts reveal he also did this on his ex-wife. He called me her old ass to an ex he tried to creep on. To another, I've got a rich as duck GF who is obsessed with me the way I was with ex-wife. Life rips, and implied he'd buy her a record with my money. As for the ex-wife, she ranges in her responses but usually plays along with him, laughing my butt off, stop, or a playful eye roll. According to his family and friends, she enjoys keeping him on the hook as a devoted pet and relishes the obsession he has with her. I have always felt suspicious of this woman and their relationship, but he told me he wanted me, not her. So I convinced myself I was insecure. My self-esteem got annihilated over the last year as I closed in on myself, convincing myself this nagging, vague something is wrong feeling was my insecurity. In truth, I'm pretty okay with myself. I was just being massively gaslit. So, this bender landed him in detox with a .313 BAC. I spent 9 hours checking him in. When he left early, I picked him up and allowed him to come home. The last straw was when he told me his last contact with her was casino night, but I discovered he had texted her desperately 3 nights after that. Mid-bender, begging her to help him because he has no one else. He was literally texting his brother and a friend casually at the same time. Enough. I told him he needs to move out. He begged me not to leave him, blamed it all on the alcohol. I told him I would consider a reconciliation after 6 months of continuous sobriety. Working a job, working a program, going to couples counseling, focusing on being a good dad, and showing me that he is willing to go the distance for our marriage. Meanwhile, I officially filed for divorce because regardless of the outcome there's no need for us to be legally married. I also removed him as my beneficiary on everything. I'm not a perfect person, but I've been a great wife to him. He has everything a man could want. Money, material things, vacations. I blow this man every day of his life. I adore him and love and support him. I am a good stepmom to his children. His friends and family like and respect me. He didn't have to work. I even allowed him to have astral encounter with other women and men I am cool with and present for. I don't require conventional monogamy, but I explicitly, verbally require that we communicate about everything. No secrets, no lies. He apparently interpreted that to mean he can get away with anything as long as he doesn't get busted. I don't know who my husband really is. In these texts I see him wear a different mask for every single person, telling each a nuanced version of the truth depending on what will appeal to them. I thought we had a special connection and a unique understanding, but I realize I'm just another person he's playing. I don't think we had anything real at all. Our relationship is built on nothing. I can't even truly say that I love my husband because I do not know him. He sounds like a sociopath. You giving him any chance is foolish. You were only together a year and a half. Cut him now before he has more time to do more damage. If he can reap this level of misery and fraud like this, then you need to cut him out. Those messages were your first glimpse at the real him, the one behind the mask. Don't be surprised if he pulls a fake suicide attempt to try and put himself in the victim spot too. Look up cognitive conservatism. Betrayed spouses that go the reconciliation route, especially in a case like this, tend to hold to the initial memory of who they thought their wayward partners were, even in the face of cold-hearted, irrefutable facts. The man hasn't been honest or loyal to you from day one. Save yourself and find someone who will actually love you and appreciate you. I am definitely experiencing this phenomenon. It's not that I am stupid or naive or wish to rug sweep. I spent a year and a half firmly believing one thing. So firmly that I staked everything on it. So it's hard for my mind to wrap itself around the fact that the situation is the exact opposite of what I firmly believed. You know, I'm sure it's easy for people to judge me, but they've obviously never experienced it. Good for you for filing for divorce already. Get your power back. There shouldn't be any possibility for reconciliation after he called you an old ass, a sugar mama. There's a lot of contempt on those texts. Heard all of this. We have a MC session next week and I question why I am even doing it, but I know it's for me. It's part of my process to heal. Edited for clarity of intent. Oh God, sweetheart. I am so sorry he did that to you. I hate him for you. I am so glad you filed immediately. Next time, don't cool girl it for anyone. Don't allow sexual gratification outside of the relationship, and don't ever tell anyone of your wealth. Make them work, and if you see them pass all your tests, then casually tell them they can drop down to part-time. Working keeps men busy. This a hole had it way too good and he spoiled everything. You are amazing. You are amazing. He took complete advantage of your kindness and now he will reap to what he sowed. Show no mercy. You are amazing though and a role model to me. I wish the best for you. You deserve nothing short of that. Second story. Long distance girlfriend 28 female has close male friend who likes her. I am 28 male wondering what to do. My girlfriend is righteous, fair, and caring to the extreme. She wouldn't hurt a fly. Case in point. I once killed an ant that was on the table and she actually cried. With real tears. Because she cares. And because she can't see any being, no matter which one, be in pain. Now, on to my issue. We're in a long distance relationship. And there's this guy at her work that is really, desperately in love with her in my opinion. It started out as them becoming running partners while she was preparing for a marathon. They run together 3 times a week. Before work. And long runs at that. Sometimes 20-30K. They talk a lot during those and got to know each other. Then they hang out at work. They eat together and talk more. They are both kind of foodies. Actually, that's one of the special things between me and her. So they exchange things they cooked. For example, jam in exchange for honey, homemade bread, things like that. Then sometimes they go to parties together. Though as far as I know, He's invited her a couple of times and she's always declined to go to a party just with him. If they are at a party together, it's because it's a group thing and they belong to the same group of people. Anyway, they go to parties and I think they hang out nicely there too. Lastly, although she declines to go party one-on-one with him, they do hang out together on Sunday afternoons and the like. So, I am 100% sure that this guy is super into her. He does everything he can to hang out with her. Now onto her side. She wouldn't hurt me. I was wondering for a while whether she was capable of cheating behind my back and not telling me, in other words, her version of not hurting me. But I am pretty sure that's not an option. Because we see each other often, every 2 weeks, and it's miraculously amazing every single time. Mind-blowing. Never seen such synergy in any couple. Everything, the conversation, the love, the activities we do, the absolutely everything. We talk on the phone all the time, every single evening. There's literally no available time in which she could actually cheat on me unless they meet from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. or something ridiculous like that. She's pretty blunt. I don't think she would hide something like that. She's not the type to be afraid to break up. I think if she felt like it, she'd just do it. Because it would feel right. Having said all this, I don't know what to do. Just like I am 100% sure that the guy would love to be in a couple with her, I think she is also not indifferent and she would definitely go for it if she weren't with me. They're a pretty good match. They have similar backgrounds. More similar than her and I. They work at the same place and like hanging out at the same spots. They speak the same language, whereas with me she has to speak in English. None of us are native. He's a cool guy. Young. Smart. Sportsy. He's got a lot going for him. It's a funny situation on the one hand. It's super awesome to have a girl that's so true to you. I am really sure she's not cheating. That's not the problem here. On the other hand, I am also pretty damn sure that if we weren't together, she'd be with that guy. It would just make absolutely no sense to not be with him. So the question is that an okay situation? Could one see it as her just keeping the guy as a backup in case we break up? And is that an okay thing to do? Is it an indication that I am not showing her enough proof of my affection, and she believes there's a possibility of breakup? Alternatively, she's somewhat naive about many things. Is it actually possible that she doesn't notice anything, that she really thinks they're just friends and he has no special intentions? On the possibility that she's afraid of a breakup and keeps him a backup. Unfortunately, I can't go much further with our current situation to give her a promise of security. We're long distance, so I wouldn't do anything crazy like proposing to her when we've never lived together. I guess the only reasonable thing I could do is quit my job and move to her city. But I love my job so much and I am doing so well at it that it would be really hard for me to do that. Note that for the eventual plan, when we'd move in together, we would go to a city where I can keep working for the same company. There are many such cities, but sadly the one she lives in is not one of those where we have an office. I almost feel bad because they'd be such a great couple. I feel like I should just make it easy for her and let her be with that guy. Be done with the long distance. Let them be married in their city and have a happy life together. With me, we have another 1-2 years of long distance to get through. And then we'd probably have to both move to another city to be together. We've talked a lot about it. We're both okay with that plan. We both can't wait to move in together. But when you take a step back, it would just make so much more sense for them to be together instead. I guess sometimes love does strange things. I don't know if I should bring this up to her at all. As I said, nothing bad is actually happening at the moment. I just want to avoid that in 1 year she suddenly has a change of heart and goes with him. And we all realize we lost 1 year of our lives. And frankly, if that happens, the two of them would still be fine. But the biggest loser would be me, since I'd be all alone and I'd have to start everything over. The stupidest part is that this wouldn't be a question at all if we lived in the same city. Because then she'd obviously spend all her time with me and she wouldn't have this enormous amount of time spent with this other guy. I don't know what to do. I am happy with her, and she's happy with me. I just don't want to wake up one day and realize it was all a waste. I am in my prime years now. I won't be anymore in 2-3 years, and it may be a reasonable thing to do would be to talk to the guy. There aren't many opportunities for me to do so, but he might be at a gathering that we're going to attend next weekend. Sorry, don't want to give too many details. Too long didn't read. Long distance girlfriend has male friend who's really into her and they spend lots of time together. She's not cheating physically, but what's the best thing to do? Update. Too long didn't read. 5 years ago, my girlfriend was really close with this guy. It made me feel terrible. I brought it up with her and here's what happened. I brought up the topic and she was super cool about it. She was surprised and she said that it was just friendship on her side. However, she went up to the guy and asked him if he saw things the same way. He said he didn't. He was actually into her. So, she told him that she's with me and that they need to stop hanging out. It was never an issue after that. We still met him at a few parties, but it didn't make me feel bad at all. Reading the old post made me smile. It felt like a big issue back then, but she solved it so swiftly. I am really thankful to her. We've had the most wonderful relationship since then and even before then. We're 33 years old now and still going strong together. We moved in together a couple of years ago and it's been amazing living together, traveling together, being together all the time. She's still so sweet. I love her with the bottom of my heart, and it's obvious she loves me too. You never know how these things will turn out, but ours is a story to fill your hearts with hope and love. P.S. Now I'll delete the password to this throwaway and any reference to it on my computer. It feels nice to close the loop. So happy to hear about how things have gone in the 5 years since. Something you wrote in your prior post struck a nerve with me though, and I wanted to respond. The ending of a relationship does not make that relationship a failure, nor does it mean that time was wasted. If you are loving being in that relationship, then enjoy it for everything that it is while you are in it. And take those thoughts and feelings into future relationships if and when that one ends. This was one of the greatest realizations I ever made about relationships. You can have a wonderful and fulfilling relationship that ends. And that's okay too. I love getting an update and realizing the original post is from 5 years ago. Your GF did such a wonderful job resolving the issue. Congratulations to you both. You sound like lovely people, both of you. Third story. My wife and the coach. Too long didn't read. I caught my wife having an affair with my son's football coach. I confronted her. We're now heading for divorce. Sorry for the long post. My wife and I are 33, married 11 years. We live in a once rural area that is fast becoming a suburb to a medium-sized metro area. Our HS graduating class had a little over 200 kids, now approaching 500 grads. I grew up on a farm. When I was 6, my mother just never came home one day. So my dad raised me. I took on my farm duties. In other words, I worked hard. Eventually my dad quit farming. He leased his fields to other farmers. He took a factory job. He invested his lease proceeds into buying up more land. Through the Great Recession he acquired many properties. On one of these properties there was a house he gave to me to fix up and start a family. It's in a trust with his other property, but we pay all the bills. My wife grew up lower middle class. A great family that always treated me well. They moved to the area while we were in junior high. We dated all through HS and were married once I had a steady job. Before then I did everything to earn $1. Need to haul junk out of a barn. Folks would call me, need your house painted. I can do it, if you get what I mean. We have an 8-year-old son. She is Sam. Now, I am a route driver for a large snack company. I am close to buying my route from the company. I have more than doubled the size by going into every mom and pop store, grocery and gas station and selling as much product as I can. I have a large area because the surrounding area is still rural. My plan is to finish buying the route. Then I can buy another truck. The plan was to have the wife run the second truck. There is projected supercenter grocery merchandise to be built in the next year in my area. If I own the route, it will be mine. If not, the company can split my route. So I need to finish buying the route. We have been married since a couple years out of HS. Our marriage hit some rocky spots. I think because I put in long hours. I try to be there but admittedly am not. We have had lots of fun and love our boy with every fiber of ourselves. He is the typical boy. He is now into sports. He played basketball in the winter, baseball this past spring and is now into flag football. So we hit a low spot relationship-wise in the spring. My wife and I talked about it and each made promises to do better. Late April through mid-June our ex-life went off the charts. We could not get enough of each other. To be honest, I may have been getting too much because I was dog-tired but still ran my route. My son was playing ball. I never missed a game but I did not hit all his practices. With most youth sports the dads take an active role in the coaching or helping out. I just could not give that commitment. My wife stepped up and helped out when needed. The baseball coach, Ted, is an ex of a very good friend from HS, Mary. She was the smartest kid in school. She went on to college, that's where they met. They married and soon had a son who is also 8. Their marriage hit the skids. Mary moved back home 3 years ago to have help watching the boy by her parents. Ted moved here 2 years ago to be close to their son and I think to win Mary back. The mid to end of June we sink back into our rut. We talk again in July. Promise to recommit. We take a vacation. Still the relationship is bumpy. Mid-August comes around, the bedroom heats up again. Then cools after just a couple weeks. September hits and we are in a dead bedroom. I beg my wife to talk but she says nothing is wrong. My son starts playing flag football. He loves it. They practice a couple days a week and play on Saturday. I drop by a practice and see my wife and Ted with a clipboard running the kids through drills. There are a couple dads helping too. I had no idea she was helping, so I mention it when we get home. My son is excited and shouts out she's not helping. She's a coach. It seems when signing the son up she volunteered to be an assistant coach. I think it's great. This seems to consume a ton of time. The wife is constantly texting. Some calls but generally when I'm there it's texting. They go to Ted's place every day after school and he works his son and mine out. He is teaching them how to be better and it really shows as they are the two best players on the team. So their first game comes. I work in the morning and make it to the field for the game. The wife and Ted are side by side giving directions. Someone sets a chair down next to me. It's Mary. We watch the game. About halftime she asks if the wife and I are doing okay. I tell her sure. I look over at her and she is staring at me. So I ask what. She said her son came home after being at Ted's. It had been raining so there was no workout. They spent the afternoon playing video games. Her son went to the kitchen to get more juice and saw Ted and the wife kissing. He ran back to the game and told Mary that night at home what he saw. I get up at 4 a.m. every day to drive 45 minutes to the warehouse to get my truck. So Monday morning I got up at 3:30 am to check her phone. She had changed the password. After a few tries I figured out what it was, as she uses like 4 or 5 different ones for everything. There I saw text after text. Some nudes. So I took screenshots of some. Usually I have one day that I spend in town. I sometimes would come home for lunch if I took one. Especially when there was a lot of X going on. I got home and she was not there. I called her but she did not pick up. I drove by Ted's place and her car was there. I finished my route. She told me she was at the store. She was sorry she missed me. I told her I was just trying to surprise her. Not a big deal. The next week, on the same day, I again let her know I was coming home for lunch. I was parked down the way from Ted's. How she did not see my big old truck is beyond me. She came running out of Ted's, got in her car and raced home. I followed slowly. When I arrived she was making me a sandwich. We had a nice conversation. Saturday, after the game, I took my son home, had him change and took him to my dad's. They were going to fish in the pond and if he wanted he could swim. I went home. Of course, the wife was not there, so I drove to Ted's. Her car was there. I called her. She was kind of annoyed. Then I asked what she was doing at Ted's. It was just silence. Then talking over the game. I told her to put her clothes on and come home. She swore at me and hung up. When she finally did come home, I was sitting at the table. She again swore at me for accusing her of something. I asked that she sit down. She refuses, getting more agitated by the minute. I told her a little more forcefully to shut up and sit down. Let me say my piece. I had a folder which she asked what was in it. I told her to sit down so I can show her. I started pulling out screenshots of her texts. She went ballistic that I would snoop in her phone. I then pulled out the more incriminating texts. She tried to explain it away. Then I pulled the nudes out. She shut up. I told her we were done. I would give her until the following Sunday to be out. I was going to an attorney. Monday. Take her clothes and personal stuff. We will figure everything out later. She just sobbed. She said how sorry she was. I just asked a question that I saw on Reddit advised sub, what did you think would happen when I found out? She had no answer. I have stayed at my dad's since the weekend. I brought my son back on Sunday so he could catch his bus to school on Monday. I had explained to him mom and dad would not be living together anymore, but he would still live in his house. I got home tonight and all her stuff was gone. There was a note that said she would drop my son off after practice. We had agreed she would pick him up after school. She could stay until I got home or I would pick him up at her parents'. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.